Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's talk about Impact Wrestling and let's talk about Tommy Dreamer. Now, of course, Tommy Dreamer has been a controversial figure in the world of professional wrestling and Impact Wrestling, stemming from his suspension from the company for his comments on Vice's Dark Side of the Ring episode earlier this year. While it would appear that the Impact Wrestling producer, creative team member, and occasional wrestler is back with the company after serving his suspension. Veteran pro wrestler Tommy Dreamer is reportedly back working with Impact Wrestling. As noted before, Dreamer has been working behind the scenes and as a talent for Impact, but was suspended back in late September after insensitive comments he made on Vice's Dark Side of the Ring series during the episode about WWE's infamous plane ride from Hell in 2002. Now, in an update, as we've not really heard much since then, we know that Tommy Dreamer has quietly returned to Busted Open Radio. At the time, Busted Open Radio really didn't say anything or promote it. He just appeared, and it's kind of the similar situation now when it comes to Tommy Dreamer and his return to Impact Wrestling. As I mentioned, in an update, Dreamer reportedly returned to work at a recent set of Impact Wrestling television tapings. According to a report by Fightful Select, he was actually suspended for just a little over a month's worth of television tapings for the company. Dreamer served as an agent and a producer at the recent Impact tapings and was reportedly not used as an on-air talent. Now, while there initially was heat on Dreamer for his comments made on Dark Side of the Ring, there is now a feeling within Impact Wrestling that the, quote, punishment fit the offense, and he is now back to work. Dreamer apologized during the fallout of the Dark Side of the Ring episode, and it would appear that people have moved on since then. Look, I have kind of different feelings about this, and I know that lots of people will have different opinions and different feelings about them. My opinion hasn't changed on what Tommy Dreamer said at the time. What he said at the time, his comments on Dark Side of the Ring were abhorrent. They were terrible. They're part of the problem, frankly, in that people, come forward and they tell their story and they reveal these allegations, or they talk about what happened to them, etc. And people laugh it off as a joke. Oh, they settled out of court, or they're only looking for this, they're only looking for that. That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. And Tommy Dreamer's comments were part of the problem. They were insensitive. They were of an era of pro wrestling that should never return, frankly, in terms of the behavior towards women, etc. So my opinion hasn't changed on that. Now, does Tommy Dreamer deserve to lose his job over that? I don't want to see anyone lose their job. I really don't. Am I the biggest Tommy Dreamer fan? Not really. I mean, several times I think here on the channel I've done videos talking about Impact Wrestling where I say, why are we focusing so much on Tommy Dreamer and why is he so much on the Impact Wrestling product? I think he's probably done a decent job behind the scenes in terms of being a producer, in terms of being a creative agent for the show, and certainly over the course of the last 12 months prior to this Dark Side of the Ring controversy, he had amassed, shall we say, significant power in Impact Wrestling, right? With Don Callis leaving, and people were talking about he could possibly go into an executive role within Anthem or the Impact Wrestling company. And again, he had certainly ascended the corporate ladder within that company. I think that's changed significantly. But as I mentioned, do I want to see anyone lose their job? No. I do think it's similar to the Busted Open Radio thing that I thought at the time, whereby if you're not openly announcing that the suspension is up and they just quietly he returns, then it kind of implies that they know that there's still a lot of heat there. My biggest concern when it came to Tommy Dreamer was, again, what is his role in Impact Wrestling? He's a producer, he's an agent, he's a creative team member. If you have heat within the company, or there are talents that you're meant to be working with, or you're meant to be instructing, saying you should do it this way, you should do it this way, how can that relationship or dynamic work when they don't like you because of what you said on Dark Side of the Ring, or they don't respect you, or they're not willing to work with you? That could be a problem. If this report is accurate by Fightful and that the heat has essentially died down a little bit and people are willing to sort of forget, move on, then I guess that's fine. I do think people make mistakes, and I do think people deserve second chances, and I think people learn and grow from their mistakes is what it is. People talk about cancel culture like it's a big thing and all that kind of stuff. Look, Tommy Dreamer, it's a first-time offence. It would appear so. He said some other things in the past, in fairness, that have been odd and strange. If he's willing to learn and grow from this incident, he deserves a second chance. But that's kind of the situation there. So Tommy Dreamer's back with Impact. Is he going to be a prominent figure on the television program going forward? I highly doubt it, and he shouldn't be anyway. You know, I've had my fix. I've had my fix of Tommy Dreamer. If he can affect the company positively backstage in his role as a producer or as an agent, that's great. If not, you know, we'll move on. So Tommy Dreamer is back, and he's back as an agent and producer. But make no mistake, people aren't going to forget that quickly. That's part of the problem nowadays with social media and with, such access to content all the time. People don't forget what you've said in the past. You have to be really careful with what you say nowadays. And I think Tommy Dreamer has learned that lesson. But Tommy Dreamer is back with Impact Wrestling and back in his role as a producer and an agent. Let's talk about the upcoming pay-per-view next month, Hard to Kill. The X Division Championship match for the show has been confirmed. A new match has been confirmed for Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. X Division champion Trey Miguel will defend his championship against Steve Macklin at Hard to Kill. Impact Wrestling tweeted, quote, Trey Miguel wants Steve Macklin and the newest member of the Impact management team, Gail Kim, just made it official at Hard to Kill. Now, Miguel won the X Division Championship on October 23 at Bound for Glory, where he defeated Macklin and El Fantasmo in a tournament final three-way match. Macklin made his debut for Impact Wrestling on the June 17th episode of Impact. He was released, of course, by WWE in February because of the whole COVID situation there with attending a New Year's Eve party, etc. That feels like a lifetime ago at this point, doesn't it? It really does feel like a lifetime ago. How so much can change in a year. So, of course, as I mentioned, the pay-per-view Hard to Kill is coming up on January 8th, on Saturday, January 8th, at the Factory in Deep Ellum, Dallas, Texas. Looks to be a great card, as I mentioned. The card is certainly taken shape. Steve Macklin, I mentioned before, his gimmick is obviously a rip-off of the Punisher gimmick from Marvel Comics. But I think he does it very well. And I have to say I have been impressed with Steve Macklin's work in Impact Wrestling since he's come in. And I do like that he's challenging for the X Division Championship. I think that the X Division title has kind of become less of, the comparison used to always be made between the X Division title and, say, the Cruiserweight title or the Light Heavyweight Championship, whatever it may be, or, the Junior Heavyweight title, say, in New Japan or whatever. But it's kind of evolved now. It's kind of changed into, like, Impact's version of, say, the Intercontinental title or the US title or whatever. And I think that's a good thing. They've spent a long time, certainly in 2021, building back up the X Division Championship. Josh Alexander had a huge hand in that. As I mentioned, the goal was to make it Impact's version of the television championship to ECW in the 1990s and have a long run and have these amazing matches against these, incredible opponents. And Josh Alexander was built up to the point where he was a credible world championship contender. Arguably, he should be the world champion right now. And Trey Miguel's got big shoes to fill because of that. He's, I don't know if he can be as successful as Josh Alexander as the X Division Championship, as a champion rather. Time will tell when it comes to that, but as I mentioned, Steve Macklin, I've certainly been impressed with him. I think that he probably found his level in Impact Wrestling, to be honest with you. Was he ever going to turn up trees in WWE? Probably not. But I think his work's been very good. I think he's showing personality. I think he's fleshing out this character, his gimmick. And what I really like about it, him going after the X Division Championship, is that he's not the prototypical X Division wrestler. And the whole point of the X Division is that it was meant to be about no limits. It was meant to be about a hybrid of styles. Do we love those X Division matches where we see people flying around doing crazy stunts and high fly moves and dives to the outside of the ring? Of course we do. We see some of the most amazing matches, or in the last 20 years, we've seen some of the most amazing matches be X Division Championship or X Division matches. But it's also been a hybrid of styles, and I like the fact that Steve Macklin isn't a high flyer. I like the fact that he is more grounded and he is different in the X Division, because variety is the spice of life, as they say, and I think he certainly brings that spice to the X Division. Finally, I want to talk about the Impact Wrestling television tapings, because Impact has announced quite a lot when it comes to their television tapings. They've announced taping and pay-per-view dates through March of 2022. So Impact Wrestling is putting all their cards on the tables when it comes to their upcoming events. So Impact Wrestling took to social media to reveal their upcoming dates for television tapings and pay-per-views through March. Now we have the dates in front of us. right now. And as I mentioned, it gives a bit of an indication as to where Impact Wrestling is going, certainly, say, the first quarter of 2022. So on January 8th, we have Impact Hard to Kill at Dallas, Texas. January 9th, we have Impact Wrestling television tapings in Dallas, Texas once again. And also it implies that Impact Wrestling is going back on the road as well, which we'll touch on that in a second. But as I mentioned, January 9th, we'll have television tapings in Dallas after Hard to Kill. January 21st and 22nd, we have an Impact Wrestling television taping sessions in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In February, we have Impact No Surrender, which is going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana. The following night, we have an Impact Wrestling television tapings in New Orleans as well. March 5th, we have Impact Wrestling Sacrifice, which is going to be in Louisville, Kentucky. The following night, they'll have television tapings in Louisville as well. And March 18th, they'll have an Impact Wrestling television taping in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I think this is really important. Because I've spoken about this before when we've spoken about the ratings here for Impact Wrestling. We've spoken about the ratings quite a lot, and we've spoken about what can Impact Wrestling do to get the ratings back up. And again, I know every time I talk about the ratings, people say you focus on it too much and it's about other things, and people watch Impact Wrestling in different ways, all that kind of stuff. It's true, they do. But it's also true that the ratings have halved in a year. And if anything, that with fans returning, it should have been the opposite. They should have been doubling. But because they were back to the normal television taping format in which spoilers are out there, because they're not live, because they were in the same place for such a short period of time, certainly in the second half of this year, Impact Wrestling really suffered because of that. One of the solutions that a lot of people were saying is that Impact Wrestling should go back on the road, and it looks to be what they're doing. So they're having now television tapings in Dallas, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, Louisville, Kentucky, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's exciting. That's certainly very exciting, and I think it's a good thing. Will it completely resolve and fix their issues? I don't know about that. I think the biggest issue still there is the spoiler issue, is the fact that they'll be doing these shows with fans in attendance who will then inform people of what's happening on Impact Wrestling, and the ratings will suffer because of that. Now, if they could do these, even if they did something like, and I get it, they can't necessarily go live every week if they're going to be on the road every week. That's going to cost quite a lot, and they can't do that. That's fine. And a lot of the people that have committed to Impact Wrestling commit to just basically working a date and taping all of television in that day. I understand that. But maybe they should do something whereby, so for instance, they have the pay-per-view, which is a live pay-per-view, but in those dates where, for instance, the Fort Lauderdale, Florida one, why can't that first night be live? Why can't they do a live show if it started on a Thursday? Why can't they do a live show on a Thursday and then they'll tape the rest of the month one day? Even if they had 1 or 2 shows a month that were live, that were television shows, Impact Wrestling on Access TV shows, that would benefit the product. It would at least once or twice a month galvanize the product enough, get people excited about these live TV specials, and maybe more people would watch. I don't know if necessarily just going on the road fixes that. I do think it helps. I think we have less of a tired crowd and hitting different parts of the country and all that kind of stuff. I think that does help. But I still think, as I mentioned, there needs to be some kind of way to fix the spoiler issue, which is either going live or the people that attend these tapings, they have to sign confidentiality waivers as soon as they walk in. If this gets out there and we find you, not only are we throwing you out, but also you'll never be allowed to go back to an Impact Wrestling television taping ever again. And on top of that, you sign something to say that that you are liable to be sued in court. And I don't want it to get to that point, obviously. Nobody wants it to get to that point, but they do it on other television shows that have a live audience. They sign something. You cannot talk about what happens. Or just get to the point where Impact Wrestling might have to just go back to empty arenas again, which everyone doesn't like, but they were doing better ratings and they had more buzz when they had that. So maybe that's the way to forward. Maybe that's the way to go forward for Impact Wrestling. Either way, Impact Wrestling is certainly putting their foot on the gas when it comes to 2022. And it's exciting to see Impact back on tour. I know so many people watch this channel that are huge fans of Impact Wrestling. So if you're in Dallas, Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, or Pennsylvania, you got a chance to go watch some Impact Wrestling, which is very exciting as well. But look, guys, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on these Impact Wrestling news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube, get the rankings, and get to people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or having come across across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.